All right, let's start with that. You're in Columbus, Ohio. You're in a little training trip. Where are you training? Why did you decide to make a week, separate from your other camp?
Yeah, so I usually do my camps down in North Carolina. It's where I live. My wife and my kids are over there. But for this camp, I'm fighting against a wrestler, and I just wanted to get some more specific wrestling looks. North Carolina is not known for its wrestling, whereas Ohio is. So it's good to come up here and also talk shop with my old original MMA coach, who I've spent a lot of time with talking shop over the phone. So it was nice to get in person with him. They've got a fantastic facility, so it was good. I've been here since Wednesday, so we're getting some good work in. I'm loving it.
What's the facility?
Ronin Training Center. It's massive, big facility. They've got a couple guys, some good pros, a lot of really good jiu-jitsu guys, and of course, Ohio's just a mecca for wrestling. So everybody here, whether you're like an amateur who's never fought or a professional, you've got a wrestling background. So it's great getting those looks in across the board.
XMMA 4, man. Your return to the cage against Josh Harvey. You mentioned he's a wrestler. What else do you know about him?
He's a bigger guy. I think he fights 55, as do I. He's got a great record, 8-1, one draw, very similar to mine. So I think it's gonna look good on paper, if nothing else. But I don't think he's fought the same caliber of competition as I have, and I think he's a little more athletic maybe than a lot of his opponents. But I think in this matchup, it will be uh, a little bit more trying for him, to say the least.
XMMA, man, they seem to be doing a really good job of just like putting solid fights together and really great fight cards. How did you connect with them?
So my manager from Iridium, Lance, set it up for me. We've been on the prowl for fights, and not having any luck for quite some time. And then when it bit. We got a great fight. Really pumped. Yeah, like you said, fantastic card. I think last I heard, 14 UFC fighters on the card, and it's really cool to be on a bigger stage and have a lot of eyes on it. It feels awesome. My last couple of fights, that was the main event, and this time I think third on the card. So it's really cool to be surrounded by talent and a stat card, and every fight will be cool. I think I'm sure it'll be more professional. Not that my other regional shows weren't great, but this will be it's a grander stage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you just mentioned, there's like around 14 UFC veterans on the card. So when you actually get into fight week, you're just gonna be running into all kinds of guys. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh man, I can't believe it. In a way, it's like the best prep for the UFC.
I agree. I think it's really cool. Just yeah, I think there's something different about the environment. They always talk about when you get in the UFC, your first fight, what do they call it, octagon jitters or something like that. They've got some different names for it, but I think what it is just the scale difference, the grander difference, um, and everybody around you's got talents like that. Do you belong? So I think it'd be nice stepping stone up there, make that transition easier, hopefully.
I wanted to go back to 2017, and your only loss as a professional was a split decision loss. How did that affect you, that fight?
Tremendously, actually. It's really funny you bring that up. So that guy who I lost to, Ryan Cafaro, we're actually friends now. Um, Surprisingly enough, as bitter as I was about that, but it was a tough fight. It was a close fight, and I can come up with excuses here and there. But the bottom line was he presented a new problem to me that I hadn't really encountered before in a fight, and I really didn't have a good answer for it. He had fantastic lateral movement. He was a Paul strike. I mean, he's a good fighter, but the big thing was he had great movement, and I never fought someone with lateral movement like that, and I was dumbfounded how to deal with it. I came up with some solutions on the fly, but um, since that fight, that's been a focus. I don't want to be a fool and repeat the same mistake twice. So I've overcome that problem. And the funny thing is, we were actually talking about that very fight in preparation for this, reverse engineered. Whereas my opponent's got terrible footwork, in my opinion. It's almost like we're reversing roles, and I'm stealing some stuff that some almost tactics that worked against me at that stage of my career. And I think it's really interesting how, I guess, as you go, you pick up tricks, pick up skills, and you grow from it for sure. And it's funny in that sense. Not only did I figure out how to fix my weakness, but I stole that his strength. So it was a great opportunity for me, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's all data accumulated, right? And then eventually in the future, you'll be able to use that data against your opponent like you're doing now.
Yes, sir, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
all
love to see
about
it. I love to see
getting
it.
better and better.
Yeah, it's great. Other than that, after that fight, you're on this long winning streak, so there must have been some other things that you started to pick up or change throughout the years. Can you pinpoint anything that has helped you tremendously?
Yeah, honestly, I've made some great transitions, and I think a lot of people will be surprised looking at film, trying to pick weaknesses of mine, and I do the same thing. I watch my fights, figure out what I'm doing wrong, um, and I try to take the biggest weak link, the biggest opportunity for somebody to expose me, and I try to cancel that out every fight. And I think some of my other fights, I had some weaknesses maybe with my wall work. I fixed that. That's one of my strongest points in my game now. The biggest improvement I think I made in recent, I don't know if it's recent, but since my last fight, it's been a year and a half. But it's been my patience, my pacing, my ability to control the fight. When I fought my last fight versus Lance, I felt like I was on the cusp of getting in the UFC. I thought it was a big fight for me, and I kind of fought not to lose. And I felt like I needed to finish, and it gave me an awkward kind of nervous energy that I'd never fought with before, and I didn't like it. And I've been really focusing now on pacing myself, fighting to just be able to win the entire fight in a way that I can always finish them. I'm always patient. I'm always in good position. I'm not burning energy for no reason. If I'm up 10-8 in a round, why step on the gas to put points on the board if I'm not working to finish the guy? So I, I'm really excited actually for that part of my game to play out because I think if nothing else, it'll make fighting more fun for me. And I think I'll be able to work in there and explore some different opportunities. So I think it doesn't really sound as cool as I added a jiu-jitsu submission or like a cool knockout, but I really think the effects of that addition to my game is going to really open up a lot of new doors for me.
And yeah, man, like you're on a 6-fight winning streak. Not many guys. When you look at the percentage of fighters that are out there and guys with winning streaks like 6 fights, 5 fights or more, it's very low, man.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah,
low.
and I think I've done it against some pretty tough
Yeah.
guys too,
Hmm.
which is cool. But yeah, I think
And
you're
maybe
right.
that's the reason why you can't get matched up. That's why you've been.
I think it has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it is. It can be,
Yeah.
man. Like some guys are just very strategical, or some management is very strategical of how they, you know, match up their guys. They want guys to fight them that are not as good as their guy. But really, that stuff backfires in the end, man.
Yeah, that's the politics of the game, unfortunately. But I think what you see is those guys have a strength. They can beat the certain guys that they're matched up against, and then once they get in the UFC, and then they don't have that same liberty of being able to choose your opponents, and then their A game's not working because people are better than that, or they can adapt and they're more versatile. They go from win streak to losing streak, which is a problem. So I think I've got the long term goal. I want to be a guy who can. I still want to fight exciting and be a finisher and do this and do that, but I don't want to be a gimmicky guy with one tool, um, and a whole lot of areas for exposure. I want to be out there and be versatile. So I want to beat everybody. So I'm training to do that.
Now going back to the matchup, what I mean, like it's gonna be a good fight, man. I think it's a good matchup. Like you're preparing your wrestling. How do you see this fight playing out? Do you think that you're gonna be able to put this guy away early, or do you feel like you have to cook him?
I think he can go. Honestly, the way I see it is probably two different big scenarios, um, and it kind of depends on what he decides to do to a degree. He can choose to pick his poison, if you will. But I think we're going to get out there, and I'm the more competent, more powerful, more versatile, dynamic striker, and he you generally wins his fights by smashing people to the wall, pinning them down, and the guys don't have the grappling pedigree or wrestling pedigree. He's up from Northeast America, Maine, which is not a great wrestling area. And I think he's steamrolling these guys. And if you look at his opponents, they're generally not the athlete he is either. So he's just dominating them there, out, using his physicality and power to break them, and then he finishes them. With me, I am a different kind of specimen compared to his other opponents. And I have not only a better wrestling background than all of his opponents, better wrestling background than him himself. So I feel like if he tries to wrestle me, that's going to be a bad choice for him because I can take him down. He can't take me down. He can't keep me down if I end up on my back, and I can keep him down, and I can do damage on him. I can submit him. So I think he's going to be in an awkward position where I really don't see how he can be effective versus me. I don't think he can keep me on the fence. I don't think he can keep me down. And if we play out range, it's just a ticking time bomb until I lay out some heavy damage. So he's got to funnel himself down one bad path or another. He doesn't really have a middle ground there, which is unfortunate for him. But I think one way or another, he's going to be so uncomfortable in both spots that I think you're going to see him fade really quickly. And then wherever position we're in, that's where the finish is going to happen. But it's going to be from the accumulation of damage and stress and fatigue and reckless energy is going to be burning, running into walls.
That'll be 7 in a row once you pick up that win. I feel like it's undeniable, man. I heard the contracts are going out right now for Contender Series, but in a way, it's like, man, I think you could get signed directly to the UFC. Maybe stay ready, right?
John, I feel you, but everybody's been saying that to me for years, so I don't even know anymore. Yeah, so who knows? I think it happens to be if they have an opening at the right time, they have a matchup that makes sense for them. I'm just going to be ready. My goal in this isn't to be in the UFC. I want to be a world-class world champion fighter. I want to beat the best guys in the world. So my goal is to build myself into that. I know I'm capable of competing with guys in the UFC. I'm well aware of that. I've trained with guys who are on that level, and I'm there with them. Some of the guys, I'm better than, but I know I still have a ways to go to reach my potential and peak. So I'm going to continue growing till I get there. And hopefully I can, along the way, be performing in these bigger promotions so I can, have some fun against some stiffer competition.
Yeah. When did that change for you? You know what I mean? Like, of course, like you just said, that people's been saying that to you, what I just mentioned about the Contender Series and seeing signed by the UFC. When did that attitude change, or has that been the mentality the whole time of just being the best, just being a world champion and not worrying about going to the UFC or Bellator, PFL, or wherever?
That actually it's happened sometime between my last fight and now, because before I was very anxious and very impatient to get there. You only have such a small lifespan in the sport, and I wanted to, you have these dreams when you start, the way you see your career going, like I'm going to get in the UFC at this year, I'm going to get these fights in, I'm going to be a top 20 guy and then a top 10 guy, then fight for the title. You have this dream of how your career is going to pan out. And, obviously I was expecting, hoping to be in the UFC several years ago. So now that it's, panning out, I think one is I'm trying to be more realistic with, it's a lot of things are out of my control. Who they pick at the right time, who gets the title shots, who gets the matches that move up the rankings, who gets injured at what time. Like there's so many uncontrollable variables. I think for me to be satisfied with my journey at the end, I just want to be what I really set out to be. Is I like the growth in the sport. I like pushing myself. I like, the evolution of myself as a fighter and an athlete and a person. And as long as I can continue to develop that, I think that's great. Unfortunately, that doesn't pay any bills, and I have a family, I got kids. So I would love to do that while I'm winning fights at the higher levels. And of course, there's no test like being in the octagon with somebody who's at a high level as well. So that's, it's kind of playing between those two is where I'm kind of finding my what's the word? I don't want to say complacency, but I'm content with that. I can live with that. Now, if they give me a title, run and 5 years from doing that, that would be fantastic. But I just want to fight and train and win. Things I love to do.
Live in the moment in a way, right? Just let things happen, live in the moment, and be your best at that moment, and then things will fall into place.
Yeah, and I think it's easier. It's it's easier to live that way, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot easier. You know, the pressure sometimes can get to you, you know, throughout a career or throughout your life, no matter what you're doing. You know what I mean? What career you're in. But April 2nd, man, XMMA 4, you're going to New Orleans. Thank you so much for the
Hey, thank
time,
you
man. It
so
was a
much,
great
John.
conversation.
I appreciate you, John. Thank you so much. Great talking with you.